Lots of artists use corrugated cardboard because it's cheap and it offers textural quality. We've developed our Evol inspired piece of card with the doors or windows drawn on, ready for the next stage. You should be ready to go. Select the animal, bug or insect image that you might want to use in your drawing and look carefully at the shapes. Decide how you think it's going to fit best around the doors and windows that you've drawn on there. Are you going to use different effects like ROA, where you use the ledges or the window sills to adapt the image around? Start off sketching your basic shapes lightly. You can do multiple lines, that's fine. You're just trying to plot out where it's going to go and make sure that it's going to fit right within the constraints of your drawing. Use directional lines to plot out where the limbs are going to go, what sort of direction and where different things bend. This will make it easier for you when you come to put the meat on the bones or make those legs or arms wider. You can start to refine some of the shapes, making alterations or adding extra bits on as you go. Remember to keep looking at that original image that you're drawing from. That's where all the information is. That's where you're going to get success from, by noticing those small details. In this speeded up video, you can see me refining shapes, making alterations and changing things as I look more carefully at the original image. Once I'm happy with that, I can start to go over the outline in biro pen and start to rub out any of the original pencil marks, so it makes sure that the biro goes on easier. Sometimes it feels like the biro doesn't work, and that's usually because there's the lead of the pencil underneath it. So sometimes we just have to rub that lead back a little bit to make it easier to work over the top. The next stage is starting to build up the tonal qualities. Think about the fact that the object or animal looks like it's getting darker as it curves around. See what sort of surface you're trying to recreate. Is your animal furry? Has it got scales? Does it have a shiny surface? These are all things that you will try to recreate with your biro, tones and mark making. You will start to build tones up across the whole image, flitting backwards and forwards and reviewing and modifying some of the tonal balance as you go along. You can start to work back in with the highlights using either a gel pen or a pencil crayon or even a Tipp-Ex pen. This really helps to make the drawing pop. It gives you those highlights and helps to emphasise the 3D nature. To add to it even further, you might want to work in with a brown and black pencil crayon just to get those darker tones. Once we've got our drawing, we want to start looking at how we might develop the surface further, how we can distress the surface. We've built up our image from a linear drawing to a tonal drawing, and now it's about taking it that step further and adding texture. There are certain tools that you might use for this. You might use scissors, a compass. If you have a craft knife at home, you might use that safely. You can even use the top of a pencil just to lift that top layer and give you something to pull back and rip. The idea is that we're pulling sections away from the side, trying to give it that worn, distressed and battered feel that we tend to get with sort of urban environments. You can quite easily get hold of certain bits and rip them back, but think about the direction you rip in and don't do it too close to your drawing because you don't want to rip the drawing off. If you want to extend some of the rips a bit further, just use your compass to pierce that top layer in the little grooves and pull the pieces back as much as you need them, so we can get more of an irregular edge to our piece of work. Constantly keep looking. Do you need to add any more? Where might be a good area for you to start to develop? Here I just use the tip of a pencil to push back into the ridges again, just as another way of lifting it. Here you can see I'm doing it with the edge of the scissors. There are many different things that you can do to lift, rip and control the distressing of corrugated card. For more controlled shapes, you can use a knife, so you could even cut around an image if you were working on card with a different type of effect. Here you can see I've just made a line. I can then lift and rip along that edge, and it gives me a much clearer, much sharper edge. For what we're doing though, it's probably better if it's got a more subtle distressed edge, so I'm going to lift and rip it to make it less defined. But this is a technique that you can use. On the earlier slide, it showed an image where the corrugations had been exposed around the edge of the drawing, and that's the sort of way that you would do that, by using a knife to go around the edge and lifting it from there. Here I'm just softening the edge, ripping things back so it's just not quite as harsh an edge on there. We want it to look more worn and battered than actually cut back. Again, just lifting that top layer, giving me a way in, something to get hold of to start to rip back. If you decide you want to have an internal section ripped back, you can pierce the top layer and just rip sections back. Once you've done that, start to working with pencil crayon to just show more distressed areas around the edge and giving it that weathered look.